Welcome back, chapter heads! Manual 3, how to guide your chapter members through their Believe Passion projects. Let's do this!
Thanks, Sarah. Okay, so Believe Passion projects are a very key element to the Believe Leadership course, and these projects allow students to apply the leadership skills they're learning through the sessions to empower themselves and to create real change. And again, just remember that the entire kind of like model behind this is to foster self-belief through action, which means that chapter members will be creating their own passion projects in order to build that self-confidence. So your main goal as a chapter head is to help guide these students to complete their Believe Passion projects and to make sure that they come into fruition. These projects will allow the students to apply those skills, and we'll talk about the tie-ins from each lesson specifically. Just as a quick reminder of what a Believe Passion project is, that is a project where you combine a passion and a problem to solve that problem, and it comes up with a passion project. Remember that those passions and problems can be as big or as small. Whatever it is, it just has to be something that that chapter member is specifically passionate about. It's something that they care about. Just remember to encourage them to find something that they really care about there. Okay, so this problem could be something as big as climate change, or it could be something that affects the student's daily life. So maybe something like their shoes are always squeaking when it's rainy outside. So maybe that could be something they want to fix. So just remember that that passion and that problem should be distinct and unique. So for example, if you're passionate about mental health and you're using your passion for mental health to solve the problem of poor mental health, that isn't such a great comparison, as they're pretty much the same thing, right? So your passion might be you're passionate about helping the community, or maybe you're passionate about art and you use that to help solve specific like high rates of anxiety or depression in students in your school. So that might be something that you want to pay attention to and help kind of guide your chapter members through.
Yes, exactly. Making sure that that passion is something that's uniquely theirs, not necessarily just like, I like helping people. It's like, yes, technically, I'm sure a lot of people like helping people, but what is your thing? Like, do you love art? Do you love skateboarding? Do you love, I don't know, origami or social media or something like that? So thanks for that great description, Katie. So what are some examples of passion projects, right? What have other people done in the past? And there'll be an entire resource where you can actually look to some passion project discovery activities of like how to help brainstorm those ideas with your chapter members. And there's a whole resource library of past passion projects in video format on the YouTube channel that we'll share with you, and a ton more on the Believe Initiative website. So some examples that we wanted to share with you was actually a student who, on the left-hand side here, you see a photo of all those young girls in blue t-shirts. They had a passion for events. They like loved attending events and going to events and planning events. And then the problem that they wanted to solve was women's rights and talking specifically about women's health. And so they planned an event called Fem Night at their school. And it allowed the girls to have interactive workshops and community building, and it was just super exciting. In the top right corner, we had two students who had a passion for turtles, and then the problem that they wanted to solve was the extinction of animals in wildlife. And so what they did is they actually created these adorable little bracelets with turtles on them, and then they raised funds and sold those bracelets to help give back to a wildlife organization that helped kind of save the oceans. On the bottom right is actually just a picture of an inspiration fair that we hosted. But to give you a few other examples, we had some students who had a passion for robotics. The problem they wanted to solve was mental health. And they had learned that in science class, certain wavelengths of light would trigger your happy hormone receptors in your brain. And so they were like, okay, how can we use robots and our passion for this to help fight depression and anxiety that our peers are facing? And so they created a little robot light that would only emit the certain wavelengths of light and then help fight depression and anxiety by triggering those happy hormone receptors in their brain. And then the last one I'll highlight was actually the winner of our Spring 2021 Inspiration Fair, the Collective Inspiration Fair. And what they did is they had a passion for technology, and the problem they wanted to solve was the effects of COVID on small businesses. And they created a website where you could input some information about your business, and it would, based off that information, suggest certain grants you could qualify as a small business to help overcome the obstacles you might have faced through COVID. So these problems and passions can be like literally anything that your chapter members want, and they just find a way to connect the two. So hopefully that gives you a bit more of an understanding, and there are, again, going to be a ton of resources shared with you of where your chapter members can look at other students' projects from past cohorts. DePauli, tell us about project groups.
Yeah, for sure. So remember, every single person in your chapter has to complete a passion project, every single member, to be clear. But people can work in groups. So we would recommend limiting groups to 2 to 3 individuals. If really necessary, you can go farther than that maybe 4 if something's a really big project. But this is just so we can make sure that all members contribute to their project. We also want you to encourage unique projects and for members to follow their interests. Because as Katie had mentioned earlier, you don't want someone to just do a project because they think it'll look good on their resume or they think it sounds cool. We want to really encourage projects that are authentic and that are from people's real interests. Now, leading on to the next part, let's talk about what passion project creation looks like. So what does it actually look like when you start to create a passion project? How do you even organize that whole process? It seems like such a big thing. Well, it really isn't. We kind of broken it down into 5 kind of steps that are kind of represent the process of how this goes. So the first is the idea, and this is where a student will brainstorm an idea for their passion project and outline components to finalize the idea, which leads into the second component, which is the outline. And this is actually where chapter members actually submit a passion project outline assignment, which contains not just their idea very vaguely, but also set due dates that they set for themselves and specific details to hold themselves accountable. Then we have step 3, which is having an action plan. So this action plan will actually be included in the outline, but it's kind of just implementing that action plan. So a student will create action steps and say, okay, I want to create art to raise money for a certain cause. Every week I'm going to create 2 pieces of art or something. So once those action steps are created, they have to be implemented. And this is actually the bulk of the passion project process. So during the course, just remember that members won't just attend the lessons, but they should be working on their passion project alongside the lessons on their own free time. And this is where action plan comes in, when they're actively working on their project. And then for impact, we have the person implementing the project in the presentation. So going back to the raising money for a certain cause with art, this might be where someone decides to host a showcase showcasing their art and people can buy that art. And so that's where you'll really see the bulk of the results and the impact and all that stuff. And then the 5th part, one of the most exciting parts, is the showcase, where students will prepare to present their project at their inspiration fair, which is super, super exciting.
Yes, the Inspiration Fair is one of the most exciting parts where you get to see all the work that you've helped your chapter members do over that time. And DePauli brought up some really great points about this, like kind of path through the project creation. And one of the questions I know that we've gotten asked along the way is like, how much do they have to have done by the time the showcase comes around? And because a big part of the Believe Passion Project is creating impact, well then, of course, that requires some action. So encourage your members as much as possible to actually take action, to do something about the problem that they want to solve. Now, they may have plans, big plans, to take over the world and solve all the problems, which is totally fine. And if they can't do that in the 10-step process that we've laid out here, they may choose just to bite off a small chunk of that big plan that they have. And so we want to have some element of action. And even if their plan is like so big, it's like, okay, what element of it can you act on during your time under the Believe Leadership program? So that's exactly what your chapter members will walk through. And in terms of how you're going to incorporate that into the lessons themselves, because as you know, there's a 10-step process that you will walk all of your chapter members through. The first one, your chapter members are just coming to an info session where they're just learning about what the program is about and why they should join. And I'm sure many of them will get excited when you tell them there's volunteer hours, an opportunity for impact, and a cool, unique way for them to combine things that they're passionate about and help make an impact in the world. And so that first step is the info session. It's really just telling them about what it is. And you can refer back to the manual for how to talk about your passion projects to your possible members. And so that's info session. But then when we get into the very first actual teaching session, where you've now gathered members, and now you need to start helping get those members to the finish line of completing their passion projects and actually presenting at the Inspiration Fair. So the very first step is actually going to be an entire lesson on innovation and creative problem solving, where you're going to open their brains and help them think differently about how they can tackle different problems. And there'll be guiding questions you can use, and certainly a passion project idea booklet that some chapter members may choose to go through if they want to, hear more options of helping them brainstorm what their idea could be. And you'll kind of help and support that. Now, some chapter members may even want to meet with you after the innovation and creative problem solving session because they may need to better flush out their idea or bounce an idea off of you. And so this part is going to be one of the hardest steps for your chapter members to really solidify their idea. Now, encourage them as much as possible to be thinking about this outside of the sessions themselves, because we want them to be kind of coming out of the gates, working on their passion projects right from session 1. Don't wait till all the lessons have gone by to start taking action. We want them to be gathering resources along the way and adding layers to their passion project. So right off session 1, say, okay, guys, keep thinking about this. Keep working on these ideas. If you already know what your ideas, start, taking those first steps towards the finish line. So that's how it's going to be integrated in session 1. In session 2, collaboration and teamwork, maybe some students have a similar idea. So maybe you provide an opportunity for chapter members to actually share about what they are interested in doing, because some chapter members may choose to team up if they were going to do it in isolation, but now found out someone else has a similar passion and a similar problem. Okay, why don't we do it together? And so you may support that kind of guided discussion along with the exercises we have to actually teach them about collaboration and teamwork. Next up will be confidence, because now your chapter members are going to be working on their projects outside of the lessons. And so they may be starting to take actions that require them to be more confident. They may have to ask some people for help. They may have to reach out to other organizations and write formal emails or ask people if they'd be willing to get on board or ask questions to gather new insights and information. And so it's going to require some confidence. And so they're going to build that skill in the session. And you can kind of in the wrap up, you'll see in some of the reflection questions, we ask them to think about how are you going to use confidence in your passion project. So you'll help support them in that. Next up, we'll have discipline, because now they're going to be in the thick of it. They're on session 4. They're about halfway through the program almost, and they're going to be like, maybe the inspiration, the initial enthusiasm is starting to wear off. And now they need discipline. They need to put in the hard work, the habits of continuing to work on their projects in between sessions, even as school is getting busy, because that's how they're going to get to that finish line and be proud of what they've done. So you're going to talk about discipline. Then we're going to talk about resilience. Maybe some obstacles have come up along the way. You're going to ask them to think about, here are some tactics that you can use to overcome those obstacles. And again, we'll give you all the resources you need to teach these lessons. But now they'll be able to apply those tactics for resilience in their lives that they are working on their Believe Passion projects. Then leadership, right? They're out there taking action, leading the charge, maybe sparking conversations or starting initiatives or campaigns because they want to make an impact. That's the change that they stand for. And so we're going to look at leadership from a range of ways, and they'll reflect on their own leadership journey up to this point. Then we actually want to give them a week to work on their project, because we're approaching the end of the 10 steps, because session 7 is actually step number 8. And so now they're preparing for the Inspiration Fair. This will be a good time for you to have members come and maybe see what they need help with, help them prepare for their chapter inspiration fair presentation. And so this work week will be really important so that they are prepared and ready to go for the chapter inspiration fair. Now at the chapter inspiration fair, you and your chapter will run this fair for your chapter members. You can invite teachers, principals, other students, friends, and family to come and witness your chapter inspiration fair and see all the hard work that your students have put in. Your chapter members will have also, at this point, have completed their assignment number 2, which will be to submit a media submission of their passion project. We really encourage for that to be a video, and you'll, heading into that final chapter inspiration fair there, you'll kind of have an idea on where everyone's at and what their project was and what were the outcomes, so you can help showcase and really hype people up. And then after the chapter inspiration fair, every chapter head is going to be responsible for selecting the chapter representative who will come to the collective inspiration fair. Now, you may have heard us say this already, but you and your chapter, you plan your chapter inspiration fair. But then once you pick your representative, they come to the collective fair, and the Believe Leadership admin plan the collective fair. And so this is how things layer on top of each other and lead up to that pinnacle of the collective inspiration fair. And as we mentioned, everyone should be working on their projects through this entire process while gathering resources through the lessons along the way. So I know that was a lot, but hopefully that shows you the exact picture of how we're going to get through this. Katie, how are we going to keep track of all of these passion projects? Oh, where are you?
Of course.
Can't find you.
Fantastic.
Oh, no. I have to probably bring myself back first. Don't worry, guys. She's coming.
I'm floating in the void.
You're floating. Let's see. All right. Now, how about now? Nope, I've completely screwed it up. How about me? Uh-oh. Well, Katie, why don't you just tell them while we're here and I'll figure this out.
That works. Okay, so there are going to be a lot of projects in your chapter, and the easiest way that you can keep track of all of that is to have a chapter list of passion projects. And to do that, we have a handy dandy template for you. It's just a document where you can track down all of the passion projects in your chapter, who's responsible for those, whether they're passion project ideas, all of that can be kept here. Also, for keeping track of your projects, that might help you to know who you might need to support more, who has a more ambitious idea that may need more support that you can connect them with. So having a list of passion projects for your chapter can really help you to figure out who might need more support than other people or who needs what kind of support. In addition to support, while we're just kind of on this theme here, you can also host optional office hours or have a Calendly to have people kind of sign up for meetings to discuss their passion project ideas with you. So those sorts of things are completely optional. As a chapter head, that's not included in your responsibilities, but if you would like to give your chapter members extra support, that is an available option as well.
Also, I got this to work now. All right, thank you for that, Katie. And Polly, you are going to tell us about the presentations.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that your chapter members will do at their chapter inspiration fair, and if they make it to the collective fair as well, is present their presentation so we can see all that they've accomplished. And so we have tons of resources for you to help you with that. We have a document called Inspiration Fair Presentation Tips, which is in the member templates and resources folder, which you'll gain access to after training. And that will help you tell your chapter members how they can present effectively and things like that. As well, we also have, a slideshow or some ideas that you can have if you are a virtual chapter. Our people can present using a slideshow, a video, or a live presentation like on Google Meets or Zoom or whatever virtual platform you're using. If you're in person, people can do things like have a poster board or just stand up and present in front of your whole chapter. So that is really flexible, up to you and how they present at your chapter fair. Just make sure that in your chapter assignment, so in your passion project media submission that you give your members to complete, that people are still filming a video and making the requirements on that. But no worries, all the requirements will be on that document. So some examples again for media submission include photos of a project's poster board, photos and videos of the project or impact made, or slideshows. For example, going just back to the art example again of selling art, if that was someone's project, they could have pictures of the event that took place, as well as having a video explaining it as well. And also just remember, as it says in red in the corner, that the media submission assignment is one of the deliverables. Passion projects are a big part of the Believe Leadership course, because the Believe Leadership course is all about leadership and the passion projects. So make sure that every student submits it. If they don't submit their passion project, then unfortunately they're not eligible to officially complete the course and earn a certificate or receive hours, because their hours haven't gone towards something that betters the community or creates change.
All great summaries. And so DePauli just mentioned how media submission is a big part of assignments. And we even mentioned it in the very first manual, kind of about all the deliverables. And so here we have a kind of another quick snapshot of those deliverables. These are the chapter member deliverables. You as a chapter head are busy running the chapter. So you don't have to do a passion project. You are there to run the chapter and support your members, and your members are the ones doing the passion projects. So the deliverables, as you would recall, for chapter members are 2 surveys that they must complete, and then 2 assignments that they must complete, and of course present at the chapter inspiration fair. So the 2 assignments that they must complete are listed right here. Assignment 1 is that passion project outline that they'll deliver to you as the chapter head to say, what is my passion? What is my problem? How am I connecting the two for my idea? And you should set this kind of due date for them to submit to you before session 4, the discipline session. And this will be so that way you can have a pulse on what's happening, who needs more help, who can you, maybe need to book a meeting with them, or, ask them what's been holding them back. So assignment 1, that chapter member must submit to you the passion project outline. Assignment 2 is the media submission, because this is going to showcase, as DePauli just mentioned, their actual passion project is completed now. And so this will be the media submission they have, where they actually get to tell us what they did, the impact it had, showcase some of, like DePauli said, a video or photos of them out in the community or hosting the event or whatever that is. And so that's assignment number 2. And that assignment actually is going to be used to submit to you as the chapter head ahead of the Inspiration Fair. And it's also going to be requested by the BLC admin in the chapter members' final survey. So they only have to make one media submission as their assignment number 2, and they'll submit it both to you as the chapter head before the Inspiration Fair, and they'll submit it to the BLC admin in their final survey. And then, of course, we know it's the 2 surveys for chapter members, 2 assignments that are just listed here, and then the 1 Inspiration Fair presentation where they must present at the Inspiration Fair so that they showcase what they did and the impact it had. And there will be an entire manual on Inspiration Fairs and wrapping up your chapter. And so make sure you refer to the manual for that for you as the chapter head. And then there'll be a resource for your chapter members to have a presentation tips document so that they can put together the presentation in the format that we suggest and we've seen work well. So that is the chapter member passion project deliverables. And I think Katie and DePauli both mentioned this. The chapter members must complete those deliverables in order to get their volunteer hours and certificate. And this is because attending the sessions is not creating community impact. It's helping them better their skills, that's great, but in order to get volunteer hours, you need to be making an impact in the community. And so we can get volunteer hours for sitting in on those sessions as long as we're taking those lessons and applying them to our project that make an impact in the community. So that's why we have to make this distinction here. So they must complete their assignments and surveys so that we know that they're taking those lessons and applying them to the projects, which allows them to get their certificate and volunteer hours. Who is doing this one? You, Katie?
Yeah. And then DePauli will take the last little one of the 4 there. Okay, great. So we have a bunch of passion project resources for your chapter members so that they can be guided along this project and this entire process as a whole. So the first 2 ones on the left over here, we see number 1 is the passion project kind of like booklet that we have, and it kind of goes over the different sorts of passion projects that a member might want to provide and to work through. There's different examples like, what about a data specialist? What about an engineer? What about an activist? All these sorts of different types of roles that chapter members can take on within their community to provide different and unique sorts of passion projects that can benefit their community. So that's the first booklet that we have there. That one is found in the session 1 folder, and same with the second little document here. You can see, let me see if I can point other way. This one here. Yeah. So the first and the second documents are both available in the session 1 folder, which should be shared with you at some point. And you would post this in your post-session posts on the virtual communication platform of your choice. For example, Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, the one that you've already previously decided. So you'd post this with your post-session post and make sure that chapter members know it's to help them formulate their passion project idea and to really get the ball rolling and to take the first steps towards the finish line, like Sarah had said. Okay, so the third one that we have here is the Inspiration Fair presentation tips, and this one is available in the member resource folder. This one you should be sharing by session 6 or session 7, which is a little bit ahead of your chapter Inspiration Fair, just so your members can prepare for that Inspiration Fair presentation and make sure they're not too nervous about things. So those are the 3 documents that we have here, and DePauli will explain the last one on the right, the 4th one over there, expanding passion projects.
Yeah, for sure. So expanding passion projects is one that you'll give them at the very end, even after, usually after your chapter Inspiration Fair as well. And it's essentially what the title is. It's all about how members can expand their passion projects even once the course is over. So of course, in the course, we want students to create as much impact as possible and have as much fun as possible with their passion project. But some chapter members like to continue their passion projects in the future for weeks or months after their chapter inspiration fair, and that's great. We want to encourage that. We've had projects who have become organizations, projects who have become small businesses either online or in person and things like that, which have been really super cool. So we have a special resource for students who are looking for that called Expanding Passion Projects, which you can share on your Google Classroom. It has a bunch of tips on how they can expand their passion projects and things to keep in mind too as their passion project grows, because as your passion project grows, you might have to consider more things, such as, or your chapter member might have to consider more things, such as, who's going to work with them, how are they going to spread it, how big do they want this to be, etc. And as Katie mentioned, just to emphasize again, remember, really utilize your Google Classroom or your virtual communication platform with all these things, the resources, as well as the assignments. You can really effectively organize on there so your members can find them really easily. We really want to encourage you to really support your students and their passion projects, because so far the passion projects we've seen have been really amazing.
There we are. So that is passion projects, everyone. And if you have any questions, your student directors or anyone from the BLC admin team is here to help you. And I don't know, Katie and DePaul, if we've even mentioned this enough times, but this is one of those times where I can't get all three of us at once. That's okay. But chapter heads, there will be a Slack channel, which I know we talked about. It's like Discord, but it's different because it's private. If you have any questions, there's going to be a Slack channel that you'll be invited to. Once you complete this training, you'll get access to all the resources and you'll get access to the Slack channel. And so if you have any questions at that point, there will actually be a thread called Questions for Admin, and you can put the questions in there and we'll respond through the Slack channel. So you'll have that invite once you are finished your training and you get the resources and you get the invite to Slack. So you'll join that and you can ask us any questions at any time. And of course, there's all these other methods as well, but we prefer, for sure, the Slack channel as our main communication tool with you guys. So that's where you can contact us. This is the end of Manual 3, which is amazing. You guys are more than halfway. Woo! Yes. So we are proud of you. We're excited to see you next lesson, and we're going to do our classic move, our high five. 1, 2, 3. Yeah! See you guys at the next lesson.